All right, people, what's up? How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's had a good Christmas or holidays and whatever you celebrate around the world, and a good New Year. I don't know when this video is going to be uploaded. I don't know if it's going to be uploaded in 2022 or if it's going to be uploaded in 2021, depending on how quick I get it up. I wanted to talk about. Am I recording? 20. Yes, I am recording. I always have to double check that. I'm going to be talking about Francis a lot in this video. A lot of things, actually, not just Francis. I'm going to be talking about Ciryl Gane as well. I don't know if it's Gane or Gane. I can't remember, to be quite honest. I know he's French. I just don't remember how to pronounce his last name. Anyways, I have a lot of different predictions that for this coming year in 2022. One of them is, I think Kamaru Usman's probably going to retire this year in 2022. Or latest 2023. I've been saying that for a while. No way he's fighting past 2023. No chance. Another prediction I have is Khamzat Chimaev is going to be UFC welterweight champion by or in 2023. I have separate videos on that. It kind of coincides with Kamaru's timeline. I'm not going to qualify that statement right now. You can check out other videos on my channel if you would be so grateful, of course. So as you can see from the title of this video, my other prediction I have is I actually think that Francis is going to be gone from the UFC in 2022. I don't want it to happen. I really wish he would stay because I think he's obviously one of the most exciting, vicious fighters to watch right now. Crazy knockout artist, just built like a statue. Like he's what you want in a heavyweight champion. However, I think he's going to be gone to the UFC in 2022. Some of the reasons, relate to, pay disputes and other stuff. Another major thing which I'm going to be talking about is that I actually think he's going to be losing to Ciryl Gane in the coming fight. Some people might think that's crazy. I haven't really polled the room. I haven't really seen the which way the winds are blowing in terms of fan sentiment. I actually think, so I don't know if it's a crazy statement or not, but I actually think there's a pretty good chance he's going to be losing the fight against Ciryl, which is crazy because Francis is like that champion you kind of wanted at heavyweight for a long time, especially after that first Stipe loss and then the knockouts he got, 4 knockouts in a row, then beating Stipe. And now I'm like, damn, his first title defense he's probably going to lose. I'll get to that in a second. I have a notepad here for some of the stuff I want to talk about just so I don't forget. I know, very, very fancy. I know. So I know that Dana's talked about recently in an interview with Brett Okamoto, and then there's this article here recently he sat down with Teddy Atlas. I know that they've had issues for a while, Dana and Francis. God, I need to clear my throat before I start recording. I know they've had issues when it comes to their career, contract disputes, pay, and I know that after the Ngannou Stipe first fight, I know there was issues after that as well. I know, and especially the Derek fight, where it was like a really boring fight. I know there were some major issues. I do know that the way that the UFC championship contracts work, and I did confirm this, is if Francis wins and retains the title, a championship clause would kick in. Let me zoom in on this. A championship clause would kick in that allows the UFC to extend his deal with more fights, although details are unclear. And if he loses, he would become a restricted free agent, and the UFC has 90-day negotiating period, and they can match any offers, blah, blah, blah. We already know about that. The details about the championship clause, I'm also not 100% sure about, but I have heard of that. If a champion loses and they have one fight left, or sorry, if a champion wins and they have one fight left, the UFC can extend them for another fight or something. I guess that's the way it works. Here's the thing, though. I don't think he's going to be winning. I don't think Francis is going to win. I think he's actually going to lose. So I think this whole championship clause is nothing to really think about. I think it's more so going to be he's going to become a free agent. Now, it kind of makes you think, like, I know that he said that Francis and him bumped into each other. They had a nice talk with each other. And he was talking about how his management is a pain in the ass and this and that. I know that they got into some sort of arguments earlier this year. Here's my thing. I know that Francis's manager is probably pretty nervous right now. I know he probably doesn't come across that. You know what? I need to take a sip of water. Wow, that's refreshing. I know Francis's manager probably doesn't come across nervous. I haven't seen any interviews with him recently. And he's probably not seeming nervous because why would he? He's representing his client. However, I bet you, okay, as someone who works, he needs to represent Francis's best interests, and he has to have as much leverage as possible to represent him with the best interests. Now, he's already starting off in a bad position where the UFC has much more leverage over fighters. But the other thing I know that he's very nervous about right now, I bet you any amount of money, I bet he's nervous about the Ciryl fight coming up, because he knows that even though, if he loses, there's going to be other promotions offering him a lot of money. Problem is that, if Francis loses, which is a pretty decent chance, he's not going to get as much money as he wants. The UFC is probably not going to match, and they're going to let him go. One thing that the UFC is excellent, amazing at doing, and I will debate anybody on this, they are excellent at cutting people. Excellent. They're amazing at cutting people. Now, that may be messed up to say, but they are excellent at cutting people at the right time, when they don't need the person anymore. A lot of times you'll notice, not always, but quite frequently you'll notice when a fighter loses, like in the UFC consistently, or maybe he's wins, loss, or if it's a surprising cut, the UFC cuts him, we think, oh my God, I can't believe that they cut him, and they go on to not have a very successful career after that. Now, part of that is because there's good fighters outside of the UFC, of course, but the other part is, dude, they're pretty good at their timing with their cuts and knowing, like, okay, the guy's not at his peak anymore, or we've used what we need to use, we can just let him go now. Francis's manager, I guarantee, is very nervous because this next fight coming up, I have him losing. I bet he knows it's a very tough fight. Maybe he knows some of the stuff of the training matches they've had previously. He probably knows that the matchup is going to be tough for Francis. Part of the reason I just think this is a bad, tough fight for Francis is I can kind of see that this is going to be a fight where Francis is going to have a tough time landing, and Ciryl is just going to be able to stick on the outside, pick him apart, stick and move, and then win the fight like that. I don't think he's going to finish him early. I don't think so anyway. I think it's going to be kind of uneventful. I think that Ciryl is going to do a lot of jab, move away, jab, kick, move away, kick, move away, kick, move away. It's not. I don't think it's going to be a very exciting fight from Ciryl's perspective. So I think he'll stay on the outside, not get trapped along the fence, and not get trapped behind black lines on the fence. And I think he's probably going to pick. I think there's a good chance he could pick Francis apart. Now, there's a chance that Francis wins, of course. Of course, there's a chance that Francis wins. The dude has crazy power. They've trained before, and he can definitely pull it off. Even if he wins, though, I mean, the UFC has so much leverage that, I mean, it's like how much realistically are they going to be willing to pay him? I think that they're not too worried because they have so many stars. Now, I would hate to see him go, and I believe that they can probably try to work it out if he wins, especially if he wins dominantly. I don't know why the UFC would let him go in that case. But because I don't think he's going to win, I think Francis is going to be gone next year. And even if he wins, there's no guarantee that they'll match the offers. What else do I want to talk about? Yeah, so I think he's going to probably lose. Here's another thing I want to just say. I probably have a different view than a lot of people when it comes to... I have very similar views to people when it comes to the UFC fighter pay, in the case that I think that they should be paid more. I probably have very similar views to people in the sense that the way that the contracts work are not favorable to fighters in many ways. Here's one thing I probably depart on with a lot of people, and this is just my opinion, and a lot of it is hypothetical wishful thinking. I want to live in a world where the UFC is still the dominant organization and they pay fighters more. Now, a lot of people are like, yo, that's an oxymoron. You need to have other major organizations to compete with them to strong arm the UFC and gain leverage to make them pay you more, which may result in fighters leaving to other promotions to get paid more. You're absolutely right. And that's actually probably a very, very likely scenario to get to where people want to. What I want is if the fighters can get together, again, very, very hard, union, collective bargaining, and figure out a way to raise their pay a little, like raise their pay more, and then raise it again, and raise it again over time. Now, do I think that you'll need other organizations to do it? Yes. Do I want to live in a world where there's 3 major organizations and we don't see the best fight the best consistently anymore? Personally, guys, I don't want to live in that world. I want a world where people can get paid more through fighter unions and bargaining and through the threat of other organizations, but I still want the UFC to maintain most of the talent. Now, even in this perfect scenario world, of course, other people are just going to pay enough to just take other fighters. It's never going to be perfect. I just don't want to live in a world where we're kind of like boxing, where it's just so hard to get certain people to fight each other all the time. And think about it, part of the reason that we have enjoyed these last couple of years, and we've just had killer years and killer event after event, is because UFC holds most of the talent. And I know a lot of casuals will get pissed off at it, and I know a lot of hardcores will say that, oh no, I would not mind at all if there was other major organizations, as long as the fighters get paid. I know a lot of people say that, but I think deep down inside, if people are being honest, I think most people would agree with me. If there was somehow we can get to a world where the UFC still holds most of the major talent and the fighters get paid more, that is ideal. I have a hard time believing that people want to see three major organizations where fighters are just split apart and it's hard to make those fights anymore. I refuse to believe that most people actually truly in their hearts believe that. I'm just being honest about it. I'm just really being honest about it. And if you guys remember Strikeforce, when Strikeforce was around, there was like, imagine that if Strikeforce became a major organization and the UFC never absorbed them, and all those fighters in Strikeforce we never saw really come over. Maybe some of them, but not all. Just think about that. Yes, maybe we'll force the UFC to pay their people more. Yes, it would do a lot of things, but think about all the people from Strikeforce that we would have missed out because of that. Think about Daniel Cormier, Hendo, Luke Rockhold, Jacare, Overeem for some time. Just all the fighters that came over and had some sort of impact. Nick Diaz when he first came over. Just think about that. Now, again, I think that, let's say Strikeforce did become bigger and, they became more of a threat. Yes, that would probably force UFC that we'd have to pay our fighters more so they don't leave the Strikeforce. And we'll have to pay the fighters more to get them from Strikeforce. Yes, of course. But you know what will also probably happen? It would probably split up a lot of stuff as well, unless the UFC was willing to pay truckloads of money. And remember, there's only so much that the market would be willing to pay because the other organization might be able to match that money if they were a dominant powerhouse. Now keep in mind, this is so far away because there's literally no organization that's even close to the UFC right now. But, there's like Bellator, PFL, ONE FC right now. There's other organizations. And I'm sure the Francis can go to some of them. But, God, what I would just love is if, let's say he wins, for example, just the threat of all the higher pay from the other organizations, which is important, causes the UFC to pay him higher, and he stays, for example. Now, whatever the UFC pays him probably still might not be enough in a lot of cases. But if the threat of the other organizations combined with, at some point, fighters collectively coming together can get them to remain the dominant player and holding still 90-85% of the talent, and it becomes a win-win scenario for the fans and the fighters, I would much prefer that. Now, I hope you listen to all the caveats I said with, it's very hard for that to happen. It's a hypothetical. If other organizations became enough of a threat, some would just end up leaving anyways. I understand all of that. I just really want a world where we can continue these amazing, amazing events with the threats of other organizations causing the UFC to pay their fighters more, plus a fighter union, which can somehow happen. Again, I agree, very, very hard. Even having a fighter union would be tough because, if you get shut from the UFC and have to go to another organization, which is not that big, well, man, that can stop you from unionizing as well. So I understand all these points. I'm just saying a hypothetical dream scenario, which I would hope for. I am not someone who says, yes, I want 3-4 major organizations. I don't want that. I don't want that. I think that most people, if that happened, would probably realize pretty quickly, dude, this is not as great as it used to be. Part of the reason the UFC, I understand, is so great right now is that, the way the contracts work, there's not many other big organizations that can match them. Yeah, I understand. It makes it so we get these amazing events. I'm willing to take a little bit of a dip in the quality of the events if the fighters get paid more, but I do not want to take a huge dip in the quality of constantly having to battle like, oh my God, these 3 fighters in these 3 different promotions, one of them is the best, we can't get them to fight each other because they're not willing to come together and come into an agreement and this and that. Does anybody really want to go to that? I don't. Anyways, that was the video for today. I think Ngannou is gone from the UFC next year. There's a very high chance, which sucks again, but it's going to happen. And if he leaves again, that's, you know, the market playing and somebody else is willing to offer him higher. But would I prefer if the UFC could make him stay? Yeah, I definitely would. But again, such is life. Such is life. But that's why it is also important to have other organizations to some extent. So fighters just can and have a place to go to another spot and make some money. That's my thoughts for pretty much today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like the video if you liked it, and subscribe for more content similar to this. I am out. Peace.